The hidden struggles behind 14 Black legends. What happened after the fame? They gave us unforgettable songs, timeless performances, and moments that shaped culture. But what happened after the applause faded? Fame often looks permanent from the outside, yet history tells a different story. Behind the awards and magazine covers were battles with illness, pressure, and a system that didn't always protect the very people it celebrated. Tonight, we're not here to judge, we're here to understand. Some stories may surprise you, others may break your heart. Stay until the end, because these legacies deserve to be remembered honestly. Subscribe to Black Excellence Legends and tell us in the comments, does success truly guarantee security, or is greatness sometimes its own burden? Mary Wells. Mary Wells was only 21 when she helped define the early sound of Motown records. Born in Detroit in 1943, she entered the studio almost by accident, originally intending to sell a song she had written. Instead, producer Smokey Robinson recognized the clarity and youthful warmth of her voice and signed her immediately. By 1964, she had become Motown's first major female star. Her single My Guy reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold more than 1 million copies, making her a national figure at a time when the label was still building its identity. Elegant gowns, poised television appearances, and confident interviews projected security and upward mobility. For many young listeners, she represented possibility. Yet the same year brought a turning point. Wells sought artistic control and better compensation, so she left Motown shortly after her 21st birthday. Legally, she could exit because she had signed her contract as a minor. The decision, however, removed her from the powerful promotional system that had shaped her career. Subsequent recordings struggled to receive radio airplay and touring income diminished. The sudden change from chart success to uncertainty was emotionally and financially destabilizing. During the following decades, she attempted comebacks while raising children and navigating changing musical tastes. Smoking became habitual, reportedly reaching 2 packs per day. In 1990, doctors diagnosed advanced laryngeal cancer. Treatment required removal of her voice box permanently, ending the singing that had defined her life. Medical expenses mounted because she lacked adequate insurance coverage. Fellow artists organized benefit concerts to help pay for care, a gesture that revealed both admiration and the precariousness of early recording contracts. Mary Wells died on July 26, 1992, at age 49. Her later years contrasted sharply with her youthful image, yet her story is not about decline but about transition within a young music industry that had not yet created long-term protections for performers. She opened commercial doors for many artists who followed. Even decades later, My Guy remains widely played, a reminder that a brief period of success can permanently influence culture, even when the artist herself faced hardship afterward. Paul Williams. Paul Williams, born in 1939, was central to the early identity of the Temptations, one of the most influential vocal groups of the 1960s. While David Ruffin and later singers often received the spotlight, Williams provided stability. His smooth baritone voice contributed to recordings, but his greatest contribution was visual. He designed and rehearsed the group's synchronized choreography. The coordinated steps, matching suits, and disciplined stage presence distinguished the Temptations from other acts and helped them cross over into mainstream pop audiences. During the height of Motown's touring years, he was widely regarded within the group as its organizer and morale leader. Behind the professionalism, however, he lived with sickle cell disease, a hereditary condition that caused severe pain episodes and chronic fatigue. Long travel schedules intensified physical strain. To cope, Williams increasingly relied on alcohol, which worsened his health and reliability. By the late 1960s, his stamina declined and he sometimes struggled to complete performances. Management gradually reduced his stage responsibilities and choreography duties shifted to others. Although he remained officially part of the ensemble and received compensation, his sense of purpose weakened. Personal difficulties followed. His marriage deteriorated and financial pressures accumulated. As Motown evolved and the Temptations lineup changed, Williams felt increasingly displaced from the career he had helped build. In 1971, he stopped touring with the group, though he stayed connected as a consultant. Friends later described periods of depression as he searched for direction beyond performance. On August 17, 1973, Paul Williams was found deceased in his car in Detroit from a gunshot wound. Authorities ruled the death a suicide. He was 34. His life demonstrates how public success can coexist with private illness. The polished routines that audiences admired required discipline and endurance, yet they masked physical pain and emotional distress. Today, historians credit him not only as a vocalist, but as an architect of the Temptations' visual style. His influence survives in modern stage choreography, illustrating that even contributions less visible than a lead vocal can shape music history long after a career ends. James Carr. James Carr, born in Mississippi in 1942 and raised in Memphis, possessed one of the most emotionally expressive voices in Southern soul music. Emerging from a gospel background, he signed with Gold Wax Records in the mid-1960s and quickly attracted attention for a restrained yet powerful vocal delivery. His 1967 recording, The Dark End of the Street, became his signature song and is now widely considered one of the defining soul ballads of the era. Critics often noted that Carr did not rely on vocal acrobatics. Instead, he conveyed vulnerability through subtle phrasing and timing, allowing listeners to feel the emotional weight of every line. At his peak, he appeared composed and sharply dressed, performing in theaters and on touring circuits throughout the American South and parts of Europe. Yet his career unfolded during a period when mental health conditions were poorly understood. Carr lived with what is now recognized as bipolar disorder. Mood swings affected studio work. Some sessions produced remarkable performances in a single take, while others stalled for hours when he withdrew into silence. Producers and promoters struggled to manage schedules because reliability became unpredictable. As the 1970s progressed, his illness intensified. Medication helped stabilize certain symptoms, but often reduced energy and vocal stamina. Touring became inconsistent and income decreased accordingly. A widely reported incident during a late 1970s overseas performance left him unable to continue the show, marking a turning point in his public career. Shortly afterward, he experienced a serious overdose but survived. From then on, he lived largely outside mainstream music activity, spending time in care facilities while making occasional limited recordings. Physically, the effects of long-term medication and reduced activity altered his appearance. The confident performer known in the 1960s became more reserved and frail in later years. He died on January 7, 2001 at age 58 from cancer. Carr's story is not about a loss of ability, but about an era when support systems for artists with mental illness were minimal. Today, his recordings are studied by singers and historians as examples of emotional authenticity. His influence persists, demonstrating that artistic impact can endure even when a career is interrupted by circumstances beyond personal control. Weldon Irvine. Weldon Irvine, born in 1943 in Virginia and raised in New York, was a composer, pianist, poet, and educator whose influence reached across multiple genres. He worked closely with Nina Simone during the late 1960s and contributed to songs addressing social awareness, combining jazz harmony with rhythm and blues accessibility. In later decades, his compositions were sampled by hip-hop artists, and he mentored young musicians, including future members of a tribe called Quest. Although his name was less publicly recognized than performers, he influenced his musical ideas quietly shaped modern urban music. Irvine's early career suggested stability. He wrote prolifically, performed in clubs, and taught music theory, maintaining a disciplined, professional routine, rather than celebrity visibility. However, financial arrangements within the recording industry proved difficult. Publishing rights and royalty structures often favored record companies, leaving composers with limited long-term income. By the 1990s, he faced substantial tax debt and ongoing disputes over compensation for widely used compositions. The stress affected his health. Friends observed increasing anxiety and insomnia as he attempted to resolve financial problems while continuing to perform. He maintained appearances in smaller venues and community programs, yet the gap between his influence and his earnings created ongoing pressure. Without consistent royalties, daily expenses required constant touring and teaching. Over time, the strain became visible, weight loss, fatigue, and reduced public presence. Despite challenges, Irvine remained committed to music education and mentoring younger artists. Many later acknowledged his guidance in interviews and liner notes. However, emotional stress deepened during the early 2000s. On November 9, 2002, he died by suicide in New York City at age 59. Irvine's legacy illustrates a different side of artistic success. While audiences may recognize performers-composers often work without comparable financial security, his work continues to appear in sampled recordings and historical studies of jazz funk and early hip-hop development. Rather than a story of fading talent, his life reflects structural challenges within creative industries where lasting cultural influence does not always guarantee personal stability. Billy Preston. Billy Preston, born in Houston in 1946 and raised in Los Angeles, displayed musical ability almost immediately. By childhood, he was already playing organ in church and performing publicly, even appearing on television programs before reaching his teenage years. His extraordinary keyboard skills soon brought him into the professional studio world where he worked with major artists including Sam Cooke and Ray Charles. In 1969, he joined recording sessions with the Beatles, contributing electric piano and organ to songs such as Get Back and Let It Be. The collaboration was so significant that he became known informally as the Fifth Beatle, a rare recognition for a session musician. Preston later established a successful solo career. His 1974 single Nothing from Nothing reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Will It Go Round in Circles also topped the chart. With a bright smile, colorful stage outfits, and energetic performances, he projected optimism and confidence. Yet life outside the studio proved far more complicated. He carried unresolved childhood trauma and struggled with identity during a period when the entertainment industry was not accepting of openly gay performers. As fame intensified, he turned to drugs, eventually developing serious dependence on cocaine and heroin. Addiction affected finances and legal stability. By the late 1970s and 1980s, he faced bankruptcy and criminal charges, including a conviction for insurance fraud in 1998. His physical health deteriorated, dramatic weight loss, dental problems, and exhaustion became visible during public appearances. In 2006, he suffered kidney failure after a drug-related medical crisis and entered a prolonged coma. He died on June 6, 2006, at age 59. Billy Preston's career demonstrates the contrast between musical brilliance and personal vulnerability. He played on historic recordings and influenced modern keyboard styles, yet long-term support systems for artists dealing with addiction were limited. His contributions remain embedded in popular music, proving that a musician's legacy can endure even when personal circumstances become overwhelming. Mabel King. Mabel King, born in Charleston, South Carolina in 1932, and raised in Harlem, built her reputation first as a singer before becoming a respected actress. She performed in nightclubs during the 1960s and later moved to Broadway, where her powerful voice earned acclaim in stage productions. Her portrayal of Eveline in The Wiz showcased both theatrical presence and vocal authority. Television audiences came to know her best as Mama Thomas on the sitcom What's Happening, 1976 to 1979, where her commanding personality and humor made her a memorable figure in family entertainment. At the height of her career, she appeared energetic and expressive, often drawing from gospel roots in both acting and singing. However, she lived for many years with type 2 diabetes, a condition that gradually worsened. In the mid-1980s, complications required the amputation of a toe. Despite this, she continued working and appearing, publicly determined not to let illness end her professional life. The disease progressed through the late 1980s and early 1990s. Multiple strokes affected mobility and speech, and her acting opportunities declined. Further complications led to the amputation of one leg, then the other, and later the loss of an arm. Once known for strong stage movement and vocal projection, she eventually relied on a wheelchair and long-term care. She spent her final years at the motion picture and television home in California, largely away from public attention. Mabel King died on November 9, 1999, at age 67. Her later life reflected the serious impact chronic illness can have even on a determined performer. Yet her earlier performances remain widely remembered, particularly her theatrical work and television role, which continue to be viewed in reruns and stage revivals. Her story emphasizes resilience. She worked as long as her health allowed and left behind a body of performances that preserved her talent despite the physical challenges she faced. Sugar Boy Crawford. James Sugar Boy Crawford, born in New Orleans in 1934, was a pioneering rhythm and blues musician whose work helped shape the sound and spirit of Louisiana music. A trombonist, bandleader, and songwriter, he led Sugar Boy and his Cane Cutters in the early 1950s, performing across dance halls and neighborhood clubs during a time when regional radio defined musical success. His 1953 recording Giacomo gained local popularity and later evolved into the well-known standard Eco Eco, recorded by numerous artists over the decades. Crawford's performances were energetic and joyful, reflecting Mardi Gras traditions and Creole cultural expression. His promising career, however, changed dramatically in 1963. During a period of intense racial tension in the American South, he was stopped by police while traveling in Louisiana and brutally beaten. The assault caused severe head trauma and left him with permanent neurological damage. He spent time in a coma and required extended rehabilitation. Although he survived, his coordination and speech never fully returned to previous levels, making professional performance nearly impossible. After recovery, he attempted to rebuild his life outside the entertainment industry. He worked in construction and later operated a small locksmith business, occasionally performing at church or local community events rather than touring. Rare public appearances at music festivals decades later revealed how profoundly the injury had altered his physical condition. Despite limitations, he maintained pride in his musical contributions and remained respected among New Orleans musicians. Sugar Boy Crawford died on September 15, 2012, at age 77. His story illustrates how external forces can interrupt artistic development. While his recorded output was limited compared to later stars, his influence persisted through songs and traditions that became part of American musical heritage. The transformation in his life was not the result of fading talent, but of violence and historical circumstances, reminding audiences that cultural pioneers sometimes carry personal costs invisible to listeners. Bobby Farrell. Bobby Farrell, born in Aruba in 1949, became internationally famous as the energetic frontman and dancer of the disco group Boney M. During the late 1970s, the group achieved worldwide success with songs such as Daddy Cool Rivers of Babylon and Rasputin. Farrell's acrobatic stage movements, spinning turns, and athletic presence made him the visual centerpiece of performances. While the group's studio vocals were primarily recorded by other members and producers, his charisma and showmanship helped transform recordings into memorable live spectacles and television appearances across Europe and beyond. At the height of disco culture, he appeared lean, vibrant, and constantly in motion, performing on global tours and variety programs. However, tensions developed behind the scenes. Disagreements with producer Frank Farian led to his departure from the group around 1981. As disco's popularity declined, sustaining a solo career proved difficult. Farrell continued performing under variations of the Boney M name and nostalgia tours, traveling extensively to maintain income. The demanding schedule and reduced financial security created long-term strain. Over time, his health began to decline. Weight gain, breathing difficulty, and chronic fatigue limited the physical dancing that had defined his identity as a performer. Nevertheless, he continued touring because live appearances remained his primary livelihood. On December 29, 2010, after a concert in St. Petersburg, Russia, he was found dead in his hotel room. Authorities reported heart failure as the cause. He was 61 years old. Farrell's life illustrates the challenges performers face when fame is tied to youth and physical stamina. His success depended on stage energy rather than songwriting royalties, leaving fewer long-term protections once trends changed. Even so, his performances remain widely remembered, and Boney M recordings still receive international airplay. His contribution was not in studio vocals, but in presentation. He helped define how disco looked on stage, showing that performance style can be as culturally influential as music itself. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, born in Philadelphia in 1949, developed a reputation as one of the most refined voices in soul and jazz. Trained in music from childhood, she gained early attention performing with orchestras and touring companies before signing recording contracts in the late 1970s. Her songs, including You Know How to Love Me, showcased a deep contralto tone and controlled phrasing. In addition to recording, she performed on Broadway in Sophisticated Ladies, further demonstrating versatility and vocal discipline. Hyman's public image reflected elegance, tall stature, formal gowns, and composed stage presence. Yet she privately struggled with bipolar disorder and depression at a time when mental health support for performers was limited and stigma remained strong. Touring schedules and industry expectations required consistency, but mood fluctuations affected rehearsals and appearances. Some performances were extraordinary, while others were canceled due to health concerns, creating tension with promoters and record labels. Financial stability became difficult as opportunities fluctuated. To manage symptoms, she used prescribed medications and occasionally alcohol, which sometimes intensified emotional swings. Friends described periods of isolation alternating with intense productivity. Physical changes, including weight variation and fatigue, became noticeable in later years, though her vocal ability remained respected by fellow musicians. On June 30th, 1995, hour before a scheduled performance at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, Phyllis Hyman died by suicide in her New York apartment. She was 45. After her death, conversations about mental health in the music community gained greater attention, and many artists publicly acknowledged her influence. Hyman's legacy rests on vocal artistry and emotional interpretation. Her recordings continue to be studied by singers for technique and phrasing. Rather than a story of fading talent, her life highlights the need for support systems within creative professions. Her music endures, reminding audiences that artistic brilliance often exists alongside personal vulnerability. Don Cornelius. Don Cornelius, born in Chicago in 1936, was not a singer or instrumentalist, yet he shaped modern Black music culture as profoundly as many performers. Beginning his career as a radio announcer, he recognized the lack of national television space for Black artists. In 1970, he created Soul Train, a weekly program that combined live performances, interviews, and dancing. The show quickly expanded from a local broadcast into a nationally syndicated phenomenon. For more than 3 decades, it introduced audiences to emerging performers, fashion, and dance styles while presenting Black culture with pride and professionalism. Cornelius himself became part of the program's identity, known for his calm voice, measured delivery, and signature closing line, "Love, peace, and soul." Running a national television production demanded constant attention. He negotiated with networks, coordinated artists, and supervised production details. The responsibilities were substantial, and over time, personal challenges emerged. Multiple marriages ended in divorce, and legal disputes created financial and emotional pressure. Health complications followed as well. He lived with diabetes for many years, which contributed to nerve pain and required ongoing treatment. Friends later noted that the combination of chronic pain and reduced professional activity after stepping back from Soul Train in the 1990s affected his mood and energy. In later appearances, he looked physically thinner and moved more slowly than during his years hosting the program. Reports indicated increasing isolation as the show continued without his daily involvement. On February 1st, 2012, Don Cornelius died at age 75 from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. His passing prompted tributes from musicians across generations who credited the show for providing national exposure early in their careers. Cornelius's legacy lies not in a recording catalog, but in opportunity. He created a platform that allowed performers to reach wider audiences during a period when such exposure was limited. The later difficulties of his life reveal the personal toll that leadership and responsibility can bring. Even so, the cultural impact of Soul Train remains significant, influencing music, television, dance programs, and the presentation of popular music for decades. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, born Eleanor Fagan in 1915, transformed jazz singing by prioritizing emotion over technical complexity. Growing up in Baltimore and later New York, she entered clubs as a teenager and quickly gained attention for her distinctive phrasing. Rather than following melodies strictly, she bent timing and tone to match the feeling of the lyrics. Recordings such as God Bless the Child and Strange Fruit demonstrated this approach and elevated vocal jazz into a powerful storytelling form. During the late 1930s and 1940s, she performed with major orchestras and became widely recognized in American music. Her early success, however, unfolded alongside a difficult personal history that included poverty and trauma. In the mid-1940s, she developed a heroin addiction, which led to legal trouble and imprisonment in 1947. After release, she lost her cabaret card, a permit required to perform in New York nightclubs that served alcohol, greatly reducing income opportunities. She continued touring and recording, but faced ongoing health problems and surveillance from authorities. As years passed, the effects of addiction and illness became visible. Her once strong voice weakened and physical stamina declined. Despite this, audiences still valued the emotional depth of her performances, and she recorded albums late into the 1950s. By 1959, she was hospitalized with serious complications, including liver disease and heart issues. She died on July 17, 1959, at age 44. Holiday's influence remains profound. Musicians across genres cite her phrasing and emotional interpretation as foundational to modern vocal performance. Her life illustrates both artistic innovation and the challenges artists can encounter when personal struggles intersect with public careers. Although her later years were marked by illness, her recordings endure as defining examples of expressive musical storytelling. Etta James. Etta James, born James Etta Hawkins in Los Angeles in 1938, possessed one of the most distinctive voices in American music. Beginning as a gospel singer, she signed with Chess Records and moved into rhythm and blues and soul. Her recordings combined raw emotional intensity with technical control, and by the early 1960s, she achieved lasting recognition with At Last, a ballad that later became a standard at weddings and formal events. Other songs such as Tell Mama and I'd Rather Go Blind confirmed her reputation as a powerful interpreter of heartbreak and resilience. Her career, however, was accompanied by personal struggles. During the mid-1960s, she developed a heroin addiction which led to arrests and periods in rehabilitation. The cycle disrupted touring schedules and recording opportunities, yet she repeatedly returned to performing, demonstrating remarkable determination. Over the years, her appearance changed significantly due to fluctuating health and weight. At one point, she weighed more than 400 pounds before undergoing gastric bypass surgery in 2002, which improved mobility but permanently altered her body. In later life, she faced additional medical challenges, including diabetes and kidney complications. Despite illness, she continued recording blues and jazz albums, earning several Grammy Awards late in her career as critics reassessed her influence. Her performances slowed physically, but retained emotional power, showing that vocal expression could remain strong even when health weakened. Etta James died on January 20th, 2012 at age 73. Her later years reflected endurance rather than decline. She survived addiction's serious medical conditions and industry changes spanning more than 5 decades. Today, she is regarded as one of the foundational voices of modern soul and blues. Her recordings continue to influence singers across genres, demonstrating that artistic impact can outlast personal hardship, and that resilience often becomes part of an artist's enduring legacy. Theodore Wilson. Theodore Wilson, born in 1943 in Texas and raised in California, became a familiar presence on American television during the 1970s and early 1980s. He was not a headline star, but a reliable character actor whose warm humor and natural delivery made him memorable in popular sitcoms. Viewers recognized him from appearances on Good Times Sanford and Son and What's Happening, where he often played friendly authority figures or neighborhood personalities. His approachable screen presence reflected steadiness and professionalism, and producers frequently cast him because he could enhance scenes without overshadowing main characters. Behind the steady work, however, Wilson lived with a serious congenital heart condition. Even during his most active years, he underwent major medical treatment, including open-heart surgery, in order to continue acting. Recovery periods limited his stamina, but he returned to work whenever possible, determined to maintain independence and support his family. As the 1980s progressed, the physical demands of filming, long hours on set, repeated takes under hot studio lights, and irregular schedules became increasingly difficult. Friends and colleagues noticed visible changes. His energy declined, and his face appeared more fatigued as medication and restricted activity altered his daily routine. Because television production depended on reliability, health complications gradually reduced the number of roles offered to him. Financial pressure accompanied medical expenses, creating additional stress. To cope with discomfort and anxiety, he reportedly adopted smoking and drinking habits that further strained his heart. In 1991, Wilson suffered a severe stroke that left him in a coma. He died on July 21, 1991, at age 47. His career demonstrates the challenges faced by working actors whose livelihood depends on physical endurance. While he never received top billing, his performances contributed to the authenticity of several influential sitcoms of the era. His story emphasizes perseverance. He continued performing despite significant medical obstacles, and audiences remember him for the gentle humor and humanity he brought to everyday characters. Nell Carter. Nell Carter, born Nell Ruth Hardy in Birmingham, Alabama in 1948 rose from a gospel-singing background to become one of the most recognizable performers of her generation. She first gained acclaim on Broadway with the musical Ain't Misbehavin', earning a Tony Award in 1978 for her powerful voice and commanding stage presence. Her theatrical success led to television fame when she starred in the sitcom Gimme a Break 1981 to 1987, where she portrayed Nell Harper, a housekeeper whose warmth and wit resonated with millions of viewers. At the height of her career, she appeared energetic and confident, balancing comedy with musical talent. Yet the demands of television production were intense. Long schedules, public expectations, and personal responsibilities created significant stress. Carter also faced mental health challenges and periodic hospitalizations during the 1980s, though she often returned to work quickly determined not to disappoint audiences. Her health became increasingly complicated by diabetes. The condition contributed to fatigue and major weight fluctuations, and she eventually weighed more than 300 pounds before undergoing gastric bypass surgery in the 1990s to improve her well-being. Although the procedure helped stabilize some issues, long-term strain affected her heart and overall endurance. Financial difficulties also emerged as medical costs increased and acting opportunities declined. In her final years, she experienced heart problems and minor strokes that limited activity. On January 23, 2003, Nell Carter died suddenly at age 54 from heart failure related to diabetes. Her legacy remains significant in both theater and television. She demonstrated that a performer could combine comedic timing with vocal excellence, and reruns of her sitcom continue to introduce new audiences to her work. Her life reflects dedication to craft despite personal and medical obstacles, leaving a lasting impression through talent and determination. 14 legends, 14 journeys, and one question that still divides audiences today. Were these artists victims of an unforgiving industry, or is the cost of fame something every star accepts? Their lives remind us that talent brings recognition, but not always protection. Some found resilience, others faced battles few fans ever saw. What matters now is how we remember them, only for their peak success or also for the struggles they endured afterward. Share your thoughts respectfully below. Your voice matters in this conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support Black Excellence Legends, because honoring history means talking about the hard truths, not just the highlights.